Studio B. This is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. We call it BYU Sports Nation. I'm Spencer Linton. He is Jerem Jordan. Joining us now is longtime friend of BYU Sports Nation. He is Uncle B, Blaine Fowler, dual threat analyst to talk football and basketball. Blaine, let's start with football and the 8-0 start that has BYU ranked in the top 10. Our question of the day is as follows, my friend. So we're coming out of the gate with some steam. Are you ready?
I'm ready for this.
Is it make it to Arlington in the Big 12 championship game or bust at this point for BYU?
Or bust is like a big or, right? So to me, if they don't make it to the Big 12 championship game now, I'm going to be very disappointed. But it's not bust. Like to me, I always have to remember my perspective from the beginning of the season, and that was. I thought they needed to get to a minimum of 8 wins, and if they got to 9, I was going to think that would be an incredible encore from last season, especially after we knew that Jake was out and they were going to have to find a new quarterback and then settled on a freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. So perspective is important here, right? But the way they're playing, and the way they're playing complementary football, and the coaching job that this staff is doing, I will be really disappointed if they're not in the Big 12 championship game, because I feel like they have the capability, and that the bye week comes at the right time to get the right people healthy to get to that Big 12 championship game. So it's not or bust, but come on. Don't we all hold out hope that there is a pathway there? And won't we all be disappointed if they don't get to that game?
It'd be disappointing because they started 8-0 and they did it again. What's BYU's most likely record in the Final Four to you? Because there's at Texas Tech and at Cincinnati sitting there.
2-2 would be acceptable to me. 3-1 is what I expect.
Where are the losses? Is it Texas Tech and Cincinnati potentially? Those seem like the obvious ones.
I think you get one of those two, and TCU coming to your place. Is as explosive as TCU is. I just see BYU. They're just too tough to not win that game. And then Central Florida coming to elevation in November, late in the season. I don't see that. Those two I'm going to chalk up, and I realize anything can happen in this league. So I think you get one of the two of Cincinnati or Texas Tech. And if that happens, you're clearly in the Big 12 championship game. I would be thrilled with that. That would be overachieving in my mind from what my expectations were at the beginning of the season. But I'd also be fine with 2-2. And I think at 2-2, now we might get into some tiebreaker scenarios, but I think at 2-2 in these last 4, they still have a good shot of being in that Big 12 championship game.
Blaine Fowler is with us on BYU Sports Nation. We also discussed earlier in the show the biggest differences in our minds between this year's BYU football team and last year's team, but we gave it the caveat of through 8 games. So assessing both 8-0 starts from 2024 BYU and now 2025 BYU, where do you think BYU is the most different this year?
I think they're more sound offensively right now. They're balanced. They can run the ball or throw the ball, especially demonstrated in that last game when LJ went out. Their ability and A-Rod's ability to tailor the offense when LJ went out and become really a West Coast passing game after that, the way we used to run offense at BYU, was really impressive. That shows you that they have skill at every level on offense, and they can go to weapons at every one of those, whether there's wide receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback, run game, they can do it. And it all stems from the fact that I think that this offensive line is playing so connected and so physical that they can kind of do what they want with those skilled players. So that's where it all starts. Defensively, they were great last year. Defensively, they're great again this year. It's not that different. The consistency on defense has been remarkable over this 19-2 run, right? The defense is just good. And when they come out and they have a slow start or they have a lull, they always seem to be able to pick themselves back up and make plays at the end of the game. So defensively, I think we're right there where we were, and that's a great place to be. I think this is a much better football team offensively. And guys, is that not crazy that I'm saying that when we're playing with a freshman quarterback at that position? What in the world? It's such a pleasant surprise, but that is the difference to me. This offense doesn't get flustered. They execute. And what they did this last game when LJ went down really impressed me. Maybe the most impressive thing I've seen this year is that they just flipped and just said, okay, let's just get the ball to playmakers, Bear. We're going to throw it a little bit more. You're going to have you involved in the run game, but we're not going to miss a beat, and we're going to finish this game off 31-3. Guys, that was something special.
It really was. If LJ Martin can't be the same guy or can't go against Texas Tech, do you expect a similar game plan to the aforementioned second half against Iowa State?
Yeah, I think you play – when I say West Coast offense is what you do with the West Coast offense, you still run the football, and you use the quarterback run game, in this case with Bear, but you make the throw game an extension of your run game where you get the ball to the edges, you get it to your playmakers in space, you get the defense to kind of sit on that stuff, then you can go to the intermediate routes, you move the quarterback around where you roll him and you throw it and you bootleg and you do all of those things. That's what they did in the last three quarters, or in the second half, especially of that last game. And I think if LJ can't go, and I think there's a good chance that he can go, but if he can't go, then it is very comforting to me that this offense can function at a very high level. And Iowa State's got some dudes on defense. That is a physical, good football team. Now, I know that they're missing their two corners, but even without those guys, their front seven is as physical as you'll see in this league. BYU handle it. And again, it all comes back to the fact that they're really good up front. Those guys get hats on hats. They keep people off the quarterback. They create seams. And it all starts there. So I think they are very capable of continuing on here the next couple games with or without LJ and doing what they've done. Here's the other thing to think about, guys. If LJ is back and now all of a sudden you've discovered that if wait a minute, maybe we should be balancing it out a little bit more and doing some of this throw game. Now they become even more difficult to defend, because I think they come into this next game against Texas Tech with some confidence that, hey, they can't stop us running the ball, especially if LJ's there, but they also can't stop us throwing the ball with a quick throw game and a spread the ball around to multiple playmakers type of a mentality. This offense should be coming in very confident with or without LJ.
So while we're talking about LJ, let's discuss the running backs room and the linebackers for that matter, Blaine, because it feels like those two position groups have clearly been hit the most with the injury bug. Not only is LJ questionable at this point for Texas Tech, but Sione Moa is coming back from an injury that was pretty significant against East Carolina. We don't know what his timetable is. And then on the linebacker side, Isaiah Glasgow has dealt with some nicks and bruises, and he's not 100%. Jack Kelly, clearly not 100%, but still toughing it out and playing. Siale Acera left the game against Iowa State. Blaine, at what point should we step back and start to feel real concern about those two position groups?
Yeah, I was concerned going into the last game about those two position groups, and then you lost Siale early, and you lost LJ early, right? So there's still some concern. And I know this is like we've heard this a million times. You guys have said it. Everybody said it. Could the bye week have come at a better time? And my thought is that Jack and Isaiah have been grinding through without a break since they were injured. They finally get 2 weeks to get right. Now, I don't know that they're going to be 100% for the whole rest of the season, but really is anybody. But I think they're going to be in a much better place for the Texas Tech game than they were going into the Iowa State game, and they got banged up a little bit in that game. Siale, I think, is just 100% in 2 weeks. Like, he's fine. And then with Sione's injury, we're not going to talk about it in depth, but his is the kind of injury where he turns a corner at some point one day, and then he recovers really quickly. And he's just a little behind where they want him to be. Now, I don't know if he turns that corner the next 2 weeks. My guess is probably not. But there's going to come a point where all of a sudden he feels much better and then can train really hard to get back physically ready to go. And I don't know if that's next game or the TCU game or the Cincinnati game. But Sione, like, honestly, if LJ's not in there and Sione's in there, I feel like you can run the same offense and maybe even a little more downhill with no drop-off. That's how much, I feel about Sione. And the fact that they've been so good without him as that 1-2 to LJ says something. So, that's a long answer, Spencer and Jerem, but I feel like the timing of this is perfect. I think the backers are going to be in better shape for the next game than they were for the last game. And I think LJ's got a chance to play in this game. And so I feel like at this point in the season, when you're going into game 9, everybody's beat up. BYU's had to test their depth because remember, it was Stroh Bryant that went out early, right? That was working his way into a starting role at that inside backer. And so really BYU was playing with, if you go back several weeks, number 3 at middle backer, and still, knuckled down and played really well, at least through 2.5 quarters in that game. So a much healthier team for Texas Tech, in my opinion, than going into the Iowa State game because of the bye.
You bring good tidings and great news, Blaine. That is fantastic, and we will all hope for the best for BYU to truly get healthy, including LJ Martin, to be ready for Texas Tech. Thanks for the time, brother. Always good to chat with you.
Thanks, Blaine.
You bet, guys. Thanks.
Uncle B delivering on the program.